Okay, so it started in 2008, I guess, with Mike McKay. And he was introduced me to Cece, who at that time you were head of the
LGBT programs.
Right.
Yep.
And so all of a sudden, I'm just completely overwhelmed with this resource center with 40 different groups. And it's so complicated, and everybody, there are just so, I mean, it is diversity. I mean, how else can you say? Because there's so many, all the groups are so different.
Yep.
But yet everybody coexists in the center. So, you know, being from Pei-trained Partners, you know, we like to approach a project, or this is the way I was brought up and trained, that there's always has to be a big idea, you know, and there's got to be, you know, how do you come together and express this kind of diversity and complexity in a building? How do you get the building to talk about that? And so, and the other part of this was that this is such an important place to Dallas. The other thing I learned were, you know, people from all over Texas come here, and you know, they've had this oppression they've grown up with, and all these different places, especially these West Texas towns and stuff. And you know, so they come here, and all of a sudden they go to Cedar Springs, and this is like, I'm home. And so how do we find all this and express it with a building? And so we went to see this facility in Chicago, and and Mike and I he was relating a lot of stories, and you know, we kept talking about this, and finally, you know, well, it's just got to be something that's just incredibly powerful and incredibly simple, you know, that pulls it all together. And that's when, you know, this idea of the triangle came up, and it just stuck. And he liked it because it represented, there was like three aspects to it, which was, you know, equality, justice, and love. And this was what made up the ends of the triangle. And so when we started thinking about that and sitting on the property, it just made all the sense in the world, because here, this angle, you know, really, as you know, Dallas is kind of this big pretentious city where you're driving in from one way and the skyline looks so expansive, but you come in another way and it's like this, you know? So, but this building happens to face the big expansive skyline. So this facade here, this angle is done so that it really relates to the city, so that you can be in downtown Dallas and look here, especially when the trees thin out a little bit, and you see the whole expanse of the city. Then the other aspect of the triangle was the park, and how this angle opens up and faces toward the park. And so it really takes the city and nature and kind of pulls it all together. So you have these two really strong facades that relate to the city and also to the park. And the park is all about health and nature, and that was important because the center, the Nelson Thibodeau Center, was going to be here. It's not anymore. So at that time, the park had a lot more significance, this kind of salubrious environment for all of that. The other thing that was neat about the triangles was that when you look at the corners and they're glass, you see right through them. And so if you notice, on every corner of the building, it's glass. And you get this sense of transparency. And that's what we wanted. We wanted this thing to open to the corner, because you have all these people from the Park Cities going up and down Inwood, and they see into the building. So the glass and the transparency was really important, but also the transparency through the building, that this is all out in the open, and everybody can look in, but not just a facility for the LGBT community, but a building for everyone. And that was important to me, that it was also a building that you drove by, and I guarantee you now that with the art and the way this thing's ultimately shaping up, this is going to be a building that people want to stop, they just want to go inside. Mm-hmm. You know, what in the world is going on there, without any apprehensions. And so I think when we made this multifunction space, which also doubles as a porte-cochere, you know, that it really becomes a tremendously inviting building. So the triangle then has so many meanings, and then you know, it was that symbol of oppression during World War II, but now it's kind of exalted because it's the pink triangle, which has a whole new empowering meaning today amongst the LGBT community. So it's everywhere in the building. It's on the floor. It's it shows also that this is and if you notice on the walls as you walk around, that the walls register with the joints on the floor. So it's all unified. There's nothing that's arbitrary. It's all part of a whole. And that's that theme that goes back to what I was saying in the beginning. You have, how do you pull together 40 different groups in a building? And it was that kind of real tight geometry that even though it seems fragmented, it's all part of a large whole that comes together here at the Resource Center.